Good afternoon. Welcome to the NSA e-Nugget series. My name is William Wan. I'm the General Secretary of the Singapore Kindness Movement. Thank you for taking time this afternoon to spend with me. I consider this a privilege to share some of my life with you about defying age and embracing a positive and active lifestyle. Did you know the percentage of Singaporeans who are age 50 and above? Statistically, what do you think? Is it about 20%? Or is it 30%? Or is it 40%? Or is it about 50%? The answer may surprise you. So let's submit your answer in a Facebook. Now, everybody knows that we are an aging society. We have problems also with having more young people, having more babies. And as a result, many of us are already in our 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and even 90s. We're also living longer. So what's the implication for us? What does it mean when our society gets older and there are less younger people? Well, there are many implications, of course, as well as ramifications, both for the society and for us. Now, I see the answer. Majority says about 40%. You're right on. You are really in touch. That is correct. That's very high. In fact, by the year 2050, we're going to see a whole lot more. The whole thing is going to be tilted. It's probably going to be 60-40, 60 in our favor, meaning seniors, and then 40 younger ones. This is going to be a very significant social change. Now, I want to focus on being positive and active, even as we get older. Because that's statistically, psychiatrists tell us that depression among seniors is partly, not always, not altogether, but partly a function of negative and inactive mindset. So I hope we can do something to change that. Let me share with you about life being like a journey. Life is a journey in the sense that there is a time when we are born, and then there's a time when we grow, and there's a time when we, move on in our career and development of our own personality and so on, and we come to a certain stage in life where we feel that we are older and frail, and then there comes to a point in time where we are about ready to go. So that is what I would call the end of the journey, our destination. Now, about 4 years ago, a friend and I went scouting on our own, doing a trek through the Caucasus. We went to Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. We went on our own, just the two of us, and we engaged an interpreter. And we went free and easy to try to visit some of the UNESCO heritage sites. What we found as we went along was that there were many surprises and many challenges. To begin with, we didn't know the languages. We didn't know the terrain of the land, but we were trekking. And we had an interpreter that helps. But really, we have to solve problems like how do you communicate when you don't have the language? Thankfully, we have iPhone and translation on iPhone that helps. We also found that Armenia and Azerbaijan were at war. So how do you move from one country that's at war across a border to another country? We have to find ways to do that. We have to find a solution to that problem. So there were lessons to learn, how to overcome the problems. And then we had a lot of experience. up in the higher mountain of Armenia. We were visiting a heritage site of UNESCO. It's preserved since medieval period. And when we went up there, even though it was spring, it was snowing up there because it was colder. And the whole place was so beautiful. It's like a medieval village. And when the time came for lunch, we couldn't find a place to eat because most of the eating places were closed. And then our translator suggested that we knock at the door and see if somebody would welcome us. And sure enough, when we knocked at the door, this gentleman opened the door and invited us in, introduced us to the wife and the daughter. The daughter was about to go to college in a nearby town. And interestingly, this gentleman was both a farmer and also a headmaster of a one-room schoolhouse in the village. It was actually a medieval village. And when we were invited in, they cooked for us and gave us beautiful bread and homegrown vegetable and everything that was just delicious. We offered to pay for it, and they refused to accept. And that's a really great hospitality. But of course, we realized that the daughter was going to college, so we decided that there's another way to bless them. So we gave a gift to the daughter, and they accepted it so that the daughter can have some pocket money when she starts her first day, I suppose, at college in town. And all told, it was a beautiful experience of hospitality, total strangers. We could not speak each other's languages, but we were able to communicate through a translator. We learned a lot about their culture. We learned a lot about their life in that village. And we learned a lot about the history. If you think about it, life is like that. Life is a learning journey. And in a learning journey, there will always be problems to solve. My granddaughter, the youngest, was born, and the first 2 weeks she was in hospital in ICU. That's how she started life. But she's now 2 years old, and all her physical problems are solved, and she's now a very happy, well-formed, well-developed child. So that was a difficult journey for her to start with. And sometimes it's like that. A bad start, but it doesn't mean that it will always be bad. And lessons to learn, there will always be lessons to learn. I look at life and I say that it's a lifelong learning journey, and it's important that we continue to learn even as we get older. In fact, as we get older, there's so much more to learn, and there's so much more time where we can spend learning. And I learn from the young people as well as from the seniors and from peers. Life is exciting when we are positive and engaged, because there's so much more to learn. And when we are mindful and aware, we can have many, many wonderful experiences. The experiences of friendship and so many other experiences are so precious. So that's being positive. Now I want to say something about living life in chapters. Right here we have a picture drawn by one of my colleagues for my book. It's the one at the top right is a lawyer. That's me in my wig. I spent about 15 years practicing law, most of that as a litigator. And then the one below is a pastor. I've been a pastor as well, mostly overseas and some in Singapore. And I was also a professor of a university, a visiting professor of Asian studies, as well as a dean of a university college overseas. And now that's where I am now. I am a Kindness Movement General Secretary. But in between, there are smaller chapters. So life is like a book. How we live, how many chapters we wish to write, how long each chapter is often a choice, a personal choice. But sometimes we don't get to choose. In fact, I'll tell you a story about one particular chapter that I didn't choose. So I was living and working in North America for more than 25 years. And then I came back, and I came back because there was a call from a church. So I came back to pastor that church. But you know what? The choice was made to come back. But within 2.5 years, troubles began for me. And I had to leave that particular church and calling because things got really bad. Now, I call that not a choice, something that happened, in the greater picture, providence. It turned out eventually for the good. But at that point in time, I had no understanding of why it happened to me. Effectively, I was told to leave. It was a very sad chapter in my life, a very painful leg of my adventure, my journey. The reason I came back was for that. And then I was told, to go. So I went back to law practice. I never thought that I would ever go back to law practice after my first period of practice, but I went back. And then eventually I became CEO of a Talent Plus organization, American organization, dealing with psychometrics, and became a trained psychometric analyst. And then in the last 10 years, running the kindness movement. I share this with you, saying that life is lived in chapters, in the sense that there are many chapters where we can determine for ourselves, but sometimes we do not get to determine some chapters. But the point about being positive and being engaged and being active is we don't just lay over and roll over and die just because of difficult experiences. We don't give up just because there is a little failure in our life. We keep going. We keep going. We stand up and believe in ourselves that as long as we have a pair of hands, a pair of legs, a good head on our shoulders, we can still make things happen, however difficult. So chapters in life can happen to us, or we can make it happen. It really doesn't matter. In the end, I think life can be very interesting because the chapters can be very interesting. And that's really how I feel about my life. It's been very interesting. I live in 6 different cities across North America, including Singapore and Malaysia. And Vietnam, I have done different work from lawyering to teaching to consulting to running companies to being senior partner of law firms and so on. But you know what? The best thing about life and the chapters that I live is to meet people everywhere, to make new friends, and to develop lasting, lifelong friendships. These days, I still meet up with my old classmates from secondary school, from primary school, and we still meet up once a month for a meal. And it is just beautiful to be alive. And as I get older, I find that friendship become more precious, family become more precious. I Zoom with my family in 6 cities. They now live in 6 cities, and we do that once a week. I just did that this morning, and it's all very beautiful. And all it takes is to have a positive mindset, to have an engaging mindset, and to be active, and not to just think that the end is here. The end is not here until it is here. So let's live and rejoice. Now, some people say age is a number. In fact, I write quite a bit about that in my book. I talk about there is spring in the autumn of my life. Autumn is just the season before winter. And winter is usually the end, if you like, of the season, of the year. So autumn is just before the end. And at 73, I suppose, I am in the autumn of my life. But I feel that there is spring in me because there's so much more I'm still wanting to do. There's so much more I still want to learn. And there are still many friends that I still want to meet. And there are still so many things I would like to do. So there is spring in the autumn of my life. I want to show you this bungee jump. All right, goes up, comes down again. Now this took place at Ager in Sentosa. Okay, that's me, by the way. So the question is, how old was I when I did the bungee jump? 41 years old, 51 years old, 61 years old, or 71 years old? Take a guess. By the way, bungee jumping is something that I didn't think I would do, but I eventually did because there was a young couple. I'm also a JP, so I was invited to solemnize the wedding, and so I did. And they said that when the solemnization is over, they would like to do a leap of faith and do a bungee jump and ask if I would join them. Well, I resisted a little bit, but eventually I checked it out and found out that it's really not such a dangerous thing. And I was told that I could do it, so I did it. So how old was I? It's also very interesting because when I look at the video after the fact, I found that it's actually quite violent. Yeah, quite violent. Well, majority say 61 years old. Well, yeah, wrong. I was 71. It's only 2 years ago when I did that. And as I was saying, it was actually quite violent, when I was doing it, I felt a bit of violence, but I was so focused on keeping my neck in and not to hurt myself. And then was just, enjoying, if you like, the thrill. Wasn't thinking that it was violent. But when I look at the video again, then I felt that, yeah, it was quite violent. But it was good. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it. Now, not every one of you should do it. I mean, you should check with your doctor first. You got to be quite fit, so don't try it unless you are really, really comfortable and you check with your doctor. Now, Captain Tom Moore, a veteran of the Second World War, you must have read about him recently, 100 years old, raised millions of pounds for the National Health Services in England. He just walked around, his home. And that captured the imagination of people, and they donated for his cause. I'm chairman of the Prison Fellowship Singapore, and my board saw that and asked me if I could do on my birthday, on my 73rd birthday, 73 push-ups so that we can raise money. And I actually did that. I did 100 push-ups and raised about $500,000 for my charity. Inspired by this man. You see, we must always constantly look for inspiration to remain active, to remain engaged, to remain positive. There are many good examples. My old professor, Professor James Houston from Canada, was still writing and traveling when he was 90 years old. He's a bit older now and he stopped doing that. Wow, 90 years old and was still writing and producing books and giving lectures. My dear friend, William Wu from Vancouver, at 92, still travels and visits his children, one of them in Singapore and the others in different parts of Canada and so on, and Taiwan, the relatives in Taiwan. He would still travel on his own from Vancouver to Taiwan to Singapore and so on. Very inspiring. So my friends, I think we can learn from these people as well. Now, it's been said that age is a matter of the mind. In fact, Mark Twain said something about, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Well, to a certain extent, it is. Because, we are told that, when we're getting older, there's a danger of getting dementia. And that's something that we're all concerned about. Sometimes it's genetically predisposed. There's very little we can do about it. But for most of us, we can do something about it. I suggest that we keep our mind active, and I think we can avoid dementia, or at least slow down dementia. We can strengthen our mind by keeping it sharp, by using it, doing Scrabbling, playing Sudoku, playing Mahjong, whatever you like to play. Reading is good enough. And sometimes our eyes are weak, maybe we could do audiobooks. Audiobooks are very helpful. Today we can do a lot of audio listening to books and so on. Writing, I still write regularly. In fact, last Sunday, there is an article that I wrote about investing in life. You can check it out last Sunday in the investment section. Thinking, I'm always thinking, dreaming, reflecting, and trying to learn something new. Learning something new is one way to keep our mind sharp. And nowadays, there are so many things we can learn online, and many of these things are free. Learn a new language, learn something interesting, learn something for fun. So let's keep going. And that's one way to keep our mind sharp, and we will minimize dementia or onset of dementia. Let me talk quickly about age can enhance active living. And this is very ironic because we think that, as we grow older, we should do less. We should just relax and maybe watch more TV, don't move too much. Please don't do that. Because when we get used to sort of lazing around, and we might find ourselves, not motivated to move around, that's not good for health, both mental as well as physical. Let's move around. Make it a point to move around. In fact, often we live a very long life and a long career, and we spend so much time working, which is fun. I talk about if we enjoy what we do, we don't have to work a day in our life. So working is good. But the point is, when we were working so hard and we were saving money and we were hoping to bless our children and grandchildren, and then we have no time to do the things we want to do. And then when we get to a point where we are retired or we are not working as much, we want to do things. Then we say, oh, now we are too tired to do anything. We are too weak. I say that's an irony. So I would like to suggest that we reverse the mindset. And that is to say, we can still do it. Find things to do that is within our capacity, and enjoy the things that we wanted to do but never got to do it. So I started a bucket list. I started a bucket list when I was 61. And to me, a bucket list is one way to get me looking forward to something. And when I'm doing it, I'm enjoying it in the presence. I only 3 or 2 criteria. One is it has to be somewhat challenging. And secondly, it can be learned quickly and done in a short time. So bucket list is something I look forward to, as I said, and I learn something new too when I do it. And when I'm doing it, I am enjoying the thrill of it or the fun of it. So let me show you some pictures of my bucket list. At 61, I went skydiving. It was in the United States. One of my young lawyers was an avid skydiver and kept telling me, go and dive with me. And I said, look, I'm so busy with my work. So eventually, when I decided the bucket list at 61, that's the first thing I did. I went skydiving. Then I went scuba diving at 63. I went deep sea fishing. I have always loved fishing, but never went out to the deep sea. When we were living overseas in Canada and US, I would go to the lake and fish. That's about it. But I went to the Maldives and do some really deep sea fishing, huge fish. Went glacier trekking in Iceland and Greenland and some of these places. Enjoy every bit of it. So you may ask, so how can I do this? What can I do? Well, you can just do it. You just get started. Don't just talk about it, think about it. Get started, something small. Have an action plan. Bucket list need not be as rigorous as what I have been doing. It can be as simple as going to some countries you always wanted to go, but didn't have time to go. Or reading some of the books you always wanted to read, or an audiobook you always wanted to listen, but never get to it. Just do it. Just make a plan. You can also look up on the online some of the bucket lists done by other people, and you can be inspired by them. I think the point I'm really making in this conversation with you is that getting old is mandatory. Feeling old is not. Getting old is something we cannot stop. Time just goes forth relentlessly. But giving up on living is not. We don't have to give up on living. We can still be active. We can still be passionate. We can still be curious within our range of abilities. Okay, all of us are at different level of physical health. I'm very thankful that I'm relatively strong and healthy, but hey, you know, whatever we can do, let's go do it. Let's go do it. Let me now introduce you to my book. This is the book, Through the Valley, and The Art of Living and Living Well. It was published last year by the Straits Times. And Mr. Tharman, our former DPM, was very kind to launch it. And within the year, it was reprinted 3 times. I'm very glad for a lot of support for this book. My friend Tina was so kind. She said she could not put this book down because it transported her to a place of hope and adventure, a place filled with happiness, beauty, and warmth of a human soul. This book is about positive living. It's about positivity in the wake of growing older. It's about engaging life. It's about humor. It's about nostalgia. It's about refire before you retire, finding something passionate to do even after we've retired, and then we can refire ourselves again and again and again. It's about the joy of aging. It's about putting life into your years. It's about how we can inspire other people to be kinder because of the way we live. There's also a whole section about death. In fact, I have encountered death 8 times, close to death 8 times, and I survived to tell it. It's about decluttering. I think many of us, as we get older, we accumulate a lot of things, and I have a whole chapter on how we can declutter so that we don't leave things behind for our family to sort of clean up. There's a whole chapter on documented ultimate immigrant or emigrant. It's about making the will. It's about lasting power of attorney, and all these things that we really need to do, you know, about advanced medical directive, because, you know, we never know. And it makes life easier for our family when we are prepared for all these things. So I hope you would support this book. You can text me. My number is 966-23253. 966-23253. It's $30 inclusive of postage. I would be happy to autograph a copy for you if you text me with your name and address, and we can talk about everything else. Many of my friends have been supporting this, and they also got this for their friends. And I've met people who have read this and called me to meet up with them for lunch to tell them a bit more about why am I so positive about life, and why am I so positive even about death, and why am I still so active at my age. And I would love to share with you more. So please text me, be my friend, and support this book if you can. So that's about all I want to say. Maybe you have some questions. Yeah, if you have any question, please post it on the Facebook comment, and I will be happy to answer your question. So thank you so much for staying with me. What are some practical tips to live well after 50? Okay, I have been spending time talking about you know the what's the word I want to use, the inner decision, if you like, the commitment to be active and so on, right? So maybe I can tell you a few things about you know, the other side, the other part of the attitude. Okay, I think the first thing is to accept ourselves. I look at the mirror every day, as you do, and then over time I realize that, you know, I've got wrinkles, you know, I lost my hair and all that. But I look at myself and I said, hey, William, you're still a good guy. You're still a nice guy. You know, at your age, you should be very thankful, you know. And I accept myself. I'm not trying to be somebody else. I don't regret being older. I don't want to go back to be younger again. I've passed that. It's all done. Been there, done that. And I look forward, see. So the first thing I think is to accept. Yeah, accept. I think the second thing that I would say is a good, I hope is a good tip, is just remember health is better than wealth. Sometimes we spend so much time just worried about getting more and we never get satisfied. And then we ruin our health as a result. And then we spend the rest of our wealth trying to gain the health. Well, I don't know where you are at in your health condition, but it's never too late. I think we need to stop worrying, because worrying doesn't help us with the health. I think we can stop worrying and start looking forward to better things, be positive. And how do we maintain our physical health? We talked just now about, you know, mental sharpness. Physical health, I think that we really got to be moving. Nowadays in social media, there are all kinds of suggestions about how we can keep fit according to our age and according to our ability, our capacity. There are many of them are free. So it's a matter of personal discipline. I think the biggest and the worst and hardest thing is to get started. Once you get started, you know, and I've been doing workouts on a regular basis. I do some weights, even at this age. I'm on a stationary bike for 45 minutes on alternate days. I still do my push-up and all that. Now, I can tell you that when I don't do it for a day, I feel miserable. You see, so once you get started, it becomes a habit. You look forward to it because you feel good, you see. Then, of course, I know some of us like to eat. And frankly, as we get older, I mean, should we deny ourselves the pleasure of eating? The answer is no. But should we overeat? The answer is no. We shouldn't overeat. So the answer is a balance. We should eat and enjoy our food, but do it in smaller portion. In fact, as we get older, we should eat less. And if you want to eat good stuff, eat in small portions, spread it over, maybe 5 times a day rather than 3 times, and eat less at night. So eating, you know, dieting, all those are important. Don't deny, you know, good stuff, but don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. And what about giving more time for friends? I think that's important. These days, I feel very nostalgic about my friends, and I'm looking them up. I'm finding time to have breakfast with them, have lunch with them, dinner with them, as much as I can. You know, and the joy of talking about, you know, the good old days is fantastic. Friends, and of course, I'm not forgetting family. Many of us have grown up, children and grandchildren. I've got 3 kids. They're all living overseas. We Zoom, you know, every Tuesday morning, our time. And I have 4 grandchildren. 2 of them are already graduates. Thank God for technology. We can always talk to each other, you know, WhatsApp and everything. And they talk to me constantly. Wonderful. So don't neglect our family, our spouses. Take time for each other and go and do some fun things. And get out and do some fun things. Yeah, and one other thing that I could add is simply this. Think about how we can make a difference. Go volunteer. Don't just live for ourselves. Go volunteer. Do some voluntary work. Prison fellowship always needs volunteers. There are all kinds of organizations that need volunteers. Go volunteer. Some of us are stronger and healthier at our age compared to some other friends, and we go and give them a helping hand. We go and spend some time with them, and there are many people who would need a friend, just somebody to talk to. I call up a friend who is younger than I am, but going through dialysis 3 times a week. And I said, I'd like to come and spend some time with you in one of your dialysis period for 4 hours. I just want to come and sit down with you and just talk to you. And that's wonderful. Let's do that. Let's see if there are other questions. Here's one. How to keep our mind sharp after 50? I just mentioned that. I think we can do some mind games. We can do some things. Okay, if you go to social media or the internet, there are some suggestions on how to remember names. Some of them use mnemonics, some of them use ideas about visualizing a person and then connect the person's name with, with the person's feature, and then think of a picture and associate it with that person. Now, sometimes it works for some and sometimes it doesn't work. We have to find a way that will work. For me, when I meet a person for the first time and I get a name, if I'm given a name card, I will look at the card. And then I will start talking about the person's name. For example, the person's name is Lam Kok Yong, for example, Lam. I would say, oh, your name is Lam Kok Yong. Are you Cantonese because your name is Lam? Is that Ling, as in Shuang Mu Ling? And so on. So you start talking. Is that your Kuo? Is that Kuo Jia de Kuo, And then when you talk like that, you have a better chance of remembering the names. And then when you go back, you try to keep the person's face and picture together. And the next time you meet, hopefully you can remember. So there are many different ways of doing that. You can check it out from the social media. The next question is, hey, thanks for, asking all these wonderful questions. Wonderful, keep going. If you were to start over again, would you have changed anything? First, I will not regret. Like I said, worrying is the thing that I will not want to do, because worrying is like paying interest before it is due, right? The same thing with this idea about regret. I mean, what is there to regret? We already live it. It's all past. Let bygones be bygones, right? We can't go backwards. However, I sometimes, because I'm involved in charity, and I realize how difficult it is to raise money, and sometimes my very rich friends are very supportive, but then sometimes it's also very hard for them because they've got other commitments. So to raise money is not so easy. And sometimes people have great difficulty even contributing. So if I were to do something over again, one thought that I have is not to spend so little time in my law practice, to spend more time in my law practice, make all the money I can. If I've been practicing continuously, this will be my 47th year, and if I've been practicing continuously and successfully, I would be quite a wealthy man, I think, but I'm not right now. I have no regrets. But maybe I thought to myself, I should have spent more time practicing and make more money, and then spend the rest of my life giving my money away. And then a good friend of mine dragged me aside when he heard me saying that in one of the interviews. And he said, William, be very careful what you said, because when you have a lot of money, that might change you. And you might not want to give away your money when you're rich. And he's got a point. So maybe it's easier for me to give away what little I have, because it's so little, than when I have a lot. So no regrets. I think I'm happy just living the way I have been, and hopefully I've learned enough to live better in the next, period of my life. Let me see if there's anything else. Yes, one more question. in your book, you had mentioned that you were close to death 8 times. Can you shed some light on your feeling during such time? Yes, I've got, I won't give you all the 8 times, so please support me by getting a book. I will tell you one very, not so long ago, about 5 years ago. I was eating at home with my wife, just the 2 of us, all my children are not with us. And she cooked some chicken and some rice, and then there was some vegetable, and I was happily talking to her, and the chicken and the rice and the vegetable was in my mouth chewing. As they chewed, it got wrapped up into a ball. And before I know it, I swallowed it. I was choking. I was choking. It's an awesome feeling. I know that if I don't get that out in time, I'm going to die. I could see death coming. That's simple, because you know that you cannot breathe. You know. And I was saying to myself, God, is this the way you want me to die? I mean, it's such an uninteresting way to die, choking to death. Meanwhile, my wife was trying her best to I forgot about my Heimlich thrust. And anyway, she put me over the back of a chair, and he started to whack me on the back and dislodge the food. I was safe. That's only one. And I was joking with my wife. I said, you were looking for an opportunity to whack me so hard, didn't you? I want to thank her for whacking me so hard, because if that food didn't dislodge, I would have been dead. Yeah. Okay, so that's one experience. Anything else? Oh, nostalgia. You have written about nostalgia and the benefit. Okay, can you elaborate? Let me go back to that encounter with death question. Let me say to you that for some reason, maybe it's my own personal faith or whatever, I wasn't afraid of dying. I knew that if the food didn't dislodge, I would have died. But I wasn't afraid of dying. I was more concerned about the way I was going to die. You know, that it's an awful way to die. Anyway, nostalgia. You know, we love to sing the oldies, right? And I grew up with Elvis Presley, Cliff Richard, and so many of these people, right? And we love to sing their songs. And we go to karaoke and we sing. So the question I ask in my book is, why do people love to sing, even though sometimes you can know that they can't even carry a tune? And why do we all enjoy karaokeing and singing, you know, with all our passion? Because there is joy, not so much about singing. There's joy in singing something nostalgic, like an old song. Because an old song reminds us of the happy past. Very often, these are love songs that we learn when we're teenagers. That's a period, right? Teenagers. So because we learn this as teenagers, we just love it, and we just love the reconnection with the past, and it makes us happy. Reminds us of our old girlfriends and boyfriends. Remind us of our first love song. Reminds us of our first romance, our first date. So nostalgia, in its right proportion and its right use, is a very good thing. Makes us happy. So I encourage you and your friends to go and do karaoke or do something nostalgic. Go down memory lane. Go visit some old part of Singapore and reminisce about the old days. I think that's a good thing. Of course, nostalgia can also be a bad thing. It becomes a bad thing when we are stuck in the past. Then we say, oh, it's nothing like the good old days, and these days is not good, it's not good. Then we are in trouble, because we are comparing something romantic in the past and become unrealistic about the present. Got to be realistic. So there is also romance in the present. It depends on where you look. Okay, it's all about mindset as well. So don't get stuck in the past, because if you get stuck in the past, we will not enjoy the present. Yep. Is your book available in the library? Yes, of course, it's available in the library. Hey, but please you must support local writers Otherwise, everybody read from the library, then we all poor local writers will not have the money to give to whatever we believe in also. Okay, so yeah, support the book. Yes, it's available in the library, of course. Yeah. Why is humor so important to aging well? I have a whole chapter on humor in my book. It's important because, I often say to my friends that in Singapore, we are not laughing enough. We are too serious. We take ourselves too seriously. Our government also tend to be too serious. And so we follow the cue, and we're all becoming very serious because, it's always about survival. It's all about this and that. So I think humor is important because according to some studies, which I mentioned in the book, when we are able to laugh and able to smile, certain chemicals, enzymes in our body kicked in, serotonin, oxytocin, and these things make us feel good about ourselves. These are healing enzymes too. And in fact, those of you who read some of your own religious books, as I do, there's a statement in mine that says, a merry heart makes good medicine. A merry heart, a cheerful heart makes good medicine. And now the studies have shown that actually, if you are calm and cheerful and kind and happy and able to laugh, it's good for your heart, literally speaking. So there are medical evidence for that. But let's not laugh at other people, though. Laugh at ourselves. And think of different ways of looking at things, and have some what shall I say? If we think of some joke that we want to share that would you're not so sure, just check it out with your good friends to see whether that joke is acceptable. Because these days people become very sensitive about jokes, especially with race and religion. But it's good always to laugh at ourselves. And my wife and I often laugh at things that happen. One day, for example, I was wearing, I was looking for her glasses because we always, forgetting where we got to get back to the mindfulness thing, and just pause for a moment where we put our things so that we can remember. So we always forget. And then one day my wife was looking for her glasses, and I was helping her to look. And I was wondering how come my sight was a bit blurry. I was wearing glasses, and I realized that I was wearing her glasses, looking for her glasses. I thought that's quite funny. We laughed. We had a good laugh. Okay, there are many ways that we can laugh at ourselves. How to be positive at age 70? My friend, I'm 73. And I think I'm very positive. You can too. My book talks a lot about it. How many ways can we be looking at things? Can we look at things positively? Of course, some of us have more reasons to be positive than others. But listen, even in the worst of times, and have been through the worst of times, even in the worst of times, we can always find something to be positive about, even in the worst of times. COVID-19 is creating a lot of problems for a lot of people. In a kindness movement, we have a platform called the Pride, Pride, and you can check it out, pride.sg. You can read about all the positive stories in the wake of COVID-19. People find positive things even in their suffering, even in their despair. And that's what we need to do. At 70, some of us may be in weaker health than others, still find ways to be happy. You know, one of the things that I wanted to do, I kept telling myself, and I'm trying to remind myself, when I get to the point where I will need to be hospitalized because I'm ill, and there's nothing to celebrate about being very ill, and nothing to celebrate about, dying, for example. If I were in a hospice and dying. You know what I remind myself to do? I want to be a blessing. I want to be positive. I want to be kind to all those people who are taking care of me. The hospice staff, the nurses, the volunteers. I want to bless them, make them happy, make them feel that they're doing something so wonderful for people like me. I want to whisper to them as often as I can, thank you so much for caring for me. I really appreciate it. Let's be positive. Rather than grumbling about, why am I so sick? Why am I so in pain? Why this, why that? We have to accept it. That's part of life. We accept the good, we accept the bad. But how do we convert that bad into something good? We can do that by, as I said, being positive and encouraging other people, cheering people up. We can do that. This is just an example. Okay, how do you make yourself healthy at 71? Now I'm 73, okay, so you're 74, you're 1 year older than I am. Well, I am blessed, if you like, or lucky, if you like, because I started from young. From school days, I've always been an active sports person. I played rugby, I played soccer, badminton, squash, anything you can think of. I played tennis until recently. I still golf, not as often, but I still golf. I can still do 2 rounds of 18 holes when I go to Malaysia and golf the whole day. 36 holes, have breakfast, golf, then have lunch and golf again. Yeah. So so I'm fortunate in a sense that I've always been an outdoor person, always active. But never too late. You can start with simple exercises. In fact, we are so blessed today with technology. All you need to do is to Google, and you can actually find videos teaching you how to do exercises at your age. Whatever it is, just exercise. I saw a video teaching older people to exercise just by standing straight and swinging your arms up and down 100 times. You try that. 100 times, if you're not used to it, you will feel very tired. So don't do 100 times, do 10 times, then increase to 20 times and just keep increasing. You can do it. Squatting, just squatting, do once, then do it twice, and then just keep increasing. There are many different ways that we can exercise. So exercise is good to keep fit. And then I said earlier on, eating carefully, drink a lot of water, drinking and eating carefully, cut down on alcohol, don't smoke if you can. If you smoke, cut it down. All these things will help. Eat more fruits will help. Vegetable will help. Yeah. So these are, a lot of it is common sense. But please go to Google and you can find a lot of these ideas. Do you have audiobook version? No, I don't have audiobook version, but Amazon has a Kindle version. You can buy a Kindle version, but I don't have audiobook version. Next question. What is the one main motivation that keeps you going now? Good question. What keeps me going now? The excitement of being alive. As a pastor, I have visited hospitals too often to see younger people dying. Yeah. I have too many people who, have gone into coma and other unfortunate accidents in life. So I don't take it for granted. So I get up in the morning and I reflect. I usually reflect in the morning, read in the morning, think, pray. Then I say, I have another 24 hours. I live one day at a time now, in a sense, although I do plan some things ahead. Then I say, what can I do today that will make a difference? So I meet young people all the time. I ask myself always, how can I be a good influence to them? How can I be a mentor to them? How can I be an inspiration to them? So I say, yeah, that's what I'm called to do. My life is given to me not just for fun, it's for a purpose. And if the simple purpose is to make a difference to somebody every day, then that's the reason why I'm alive each day and every day. That's my motivation. Okay, if you want me to go a bit deeper, and I hope you don't mind, maybe some of you are Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, Muslim, you know where I stand. I respect every religion. I do not criticize any religion. I always tell people, and that's also in my article last Sunday, practice your religion passionately, by all means, and be compassionate to everyone. So I practice my religion. I'm a Christian. So maybe to go a bit deeper, I think I believe in God, and I believe that my life is to love God all I can. And how do I love God? I love God by showing love to my neighbors, by doing kind deeds, by doing good things. And so every day I look forward to being a blessing to somebody, that's all. And by doing that, I hope I'm really loving God. So loving God is just not a word that we say or a prayer that we utter. It's an action that we do. And of course, I have my children to think of, to be happy about. I have still my wife with me. I have my grandchildren that I don't get to see other than through Zoom. They also give me the incentive to continue to live and to be happy. And then if we don't have children, even if we don't have spouse, we have friends. Our friends need us. And so I also want to live for my friends. That's what I can say. You mentioned so many questions, wonderful. You mentioned about about learning a new language. May I know whether Hangul, more scientifically, or Thai is easier to learn? Okay. When I was a lawyer, I went to Seoul a number of times, and in fact, my son married a Korean American girl. They live in America. My nephew married a Japanese. I dabbled in some of these languages, except Thai. I've never learned Thai, even though I had a law practice. Our law firm had a law office in Bangkok, but I never learned Thai. Except listening to a few words. But I did dabble in Japanese a little bit. I dabble in Korean a little bit, which is difficult. As I said, Thai looked difficult to me, even though when I listen to it and so on, it sounds difficult, yeah. Korean, if you know Chinese, actually a lot of words are actually Chinese based. And there is a good portion, maybe about 1/3 of the Japanese words are also Chinese based. So if you know Chinese, it would help. But bottom line is this, depending on where you want to learn it. If you want to learn it to be very proficient, that's one thing. If you learn it because you enjoy, having fun with it, a few words here and there, and learn how they are structured and so on, and that is fun in itself, then by all means, it's also helpful for the mind. Bottom line also is, I think learning languages is also a gift. Some people seem to be able to learn it faster than others. Some people have great difficulty. Yeah, I have a little bit of gifting in languages. Because of my education and becoming a Christian pastor, I had to learn Greek and learn Hebrew. When I was in Canada, I did my PhD in a bilingual university. I had to learn French. And because of my travel, I pick up, Hindi, I pick up a little bit of Japanese, a little bit of Korean here and there. I speak Mandarin, not at the highest proficient, but good enough for conversation. I speak Hokkien, I speak Teochew, I speak Hainanese, I speak Cantonese. So, so that's me. But it depends on your own gifting. One more question here. Since everything is online, how to ensure enough movement? All right. Is this the last question? All right. Thank you so much. This is the last question. It's up to you. When I'm working at home right now, right? All my staff working at home. So my wife always reminds me when I'm at the desk too long. She will say, "William, you got to get up and walk. Get up and do something. Go water the plant, or something like that. Go play with the dog, or go take a walk. Stretch yourself." Yeah, I think we need to do that. And we just need to remind ourselves that we can't just, in my book, I talk about writing the book. And I took 3 months sabbatical to write the book. And I was so disciplined, I could sit down and write the book for hours until, and this is true, I had a severe backache. I had to go and see a doctor because I thought I was going to have a big problem. And fortunately, through physiotherapy and all that, I managed to overcome it. So these days, I don't sit for too long, at the keyboard. I just need to get out and stretch, and do something. So thank you very, very much. I hope that it's been helpful to you. Let me go to the last slide. Okay. All right. So this is with the compliments of National Civil Academy. If you find the talk useful, well, please like it, share it with your friends and family so that they can pick it up, because these are all recorded, right? If you contact me either at my email or WhatsApp, I promise you I'll respond to you. You can ask me anything, and hopefully you will also support my book. Please do that. And if you want to be my Facebook friend, I'm also on Facebook. So please connect with me. Also connect with the National Civil Academy. You have the phone number there, as well as the email address, not email address, what is that called? A website link. So please do that, and like and follow C3A Facebook. By the way, I was the winner of the Active Ager Award in 2011 that was curated by 3CA. I think that was the last year they had this particular award. So that was in 2011 when I was 64, I think, years old. So thank you. And with that, I'll have to say goodbye. I hope to see you again, and I hope to hear from you.